Hello everybody, and welcome to something a little bit different. Today we're not gonna be doing any meme garbage. Instead, we're gonna be, well, I guess we really just can call it something different. This is not necessarily a let's play or something like that, more like a let's read. Because today we're gonna be reading Choice of Robots by Kevin Gold. This is something that I purchased on Steam a long time ago, and I never really checked it out. It's not really a game and more a choose-your-own-adventure book. And I figured it would be kind of cool to just sit here and read it with everyone. That is everybody who watches this. And I figured this would be like something kind of nice to like put on to chill. Maybe when you're like drawing or something, writing something yourself, maybe even going to sleep. Like a poor man's ASMR, except not weird. So, yeah. I hope the music is being recorded. Yeah, the music is being recorded. I put on some jazz because why the fuck not? If you want to just listen to the jazz, I'll put a link to that in the description. But for now, let's just start this weird little thing. Right. Where are you? In the court of the Egyptian god Anubis, answering for my sins. On a war-torn battlefield with a robotic Statue of Liberty. On a cliff in Ireland, watching the sunset with a robot companion. Or on a utopian beach by a godlike cloud of robots. Let's hang out on the cliff in Ireland with our robot companion. Let's try to be chill about this. Sitting on the seaside cliff in Ireland, watching the sunset, is the robot companion you always wanted. He proposed to me at this very spot. She proposed to me at this very spot. He and I travel the world together exploring. She and I travel the world together exploring. So, we pretty much already pick our ending here, from what I can tell. Why not? Let's have this be romantic. Let it be a she. I already have a robot in mind, because we can actually build our own robot in this somewhat. And that's like really cool. That's why it's pretty much just called Choice of Robots. You build your own robot, and then you make choices. That's kind of the entire game. It's the premise, and it's really nice. It's fun to play. And depending on what you do, you can get different outcomes. And I really like that about this game. So I figured I'd record me playing it. Indeed. And you said yes. You had to move to Europe to find a country willing to legally marry you, but you don't regret a thing. Empathy +2, grace +1. She is clothed in a loose-fitting red tunic, and her face is a beautiful sculpture. You sit down beside her to watch the sunset together. I hope I didn't keep you waiting, you say. Actually, I'm still waiting, she says with a slight smile, for you to build me. I can do that? You say. She looks sad for a moment. Yes, but it will take a lot out of you. She puts her hand on yours. But I promise you that if you give your humanity to me, then I will give it back one day. I don't understand, you say. Just remember that no great thing happens without sacrifice, she says. And I'm sorry. Some things are in your control, and others not. We're off to a great start. Epic tits. Yeah, we're still gonna be doing jokes, so don't worry about that. Okay. You awaken with your head on the desktop keyboard. Your 3D drafting program is still open. The schematic zoomed in to the recess where your smartphone will snap into its back to act as its brain. You recall fiddling with that hard endlessly last night, until finally your vision began to fade. There was a roaring in your ears, and you realized you had been working far, far too long. You must have passed out. It's fall of 2019. That's a year from now. You're a 24-year-old graduate student in the PhD program in computer science at Stanford, and you are a guy or a girl. So we could just be gay if we wanted to be. That's nice. But we're gonna make this immersive. I'm a guy whose name is Alan Isaac. Oh Jesus. God, if I have a friend named Isaac, and he's probably gonna take this as an insult if I say "oh Jesus" and without context. It's not bad that the name Isaac is here. God, I'm just digging a deeper hole for myself. I'm just gonna stop. Okay, Linus Decker Darwin. Here, I'll type it for you. We can just type it. That's nice. So, what's your first name? My first name is DNA. No, my first name is Dan. Let's just go with Dan, not Dance. Dan, is that right? Yes. Oops, typo. Sorry. Show me the names again. Yes. And your last name is Tesla, Calvin, Tezuka, Goldberg. Exclamation point Q. Wayne. The exclamation point is a click. What? Nguyen. Kim. Doniek. None of these is my last name. I'll type it. What do we go for last name? I don't want to just put in my real last name, so we're just gonna go with Comic. Dan Comic. We can work with this. Comic? You sure? Yes. You look around your apartment. What does it look like? My BattleBots trophy is perched on a widescreen TV equipped with the latest video game consoles. Neatly labeled plastic shelving units sit on a 3D printer equipped robot workbench. Busts of famous philosophers sit next to my own attempt to sculpt them. My shelves display all the strange little robotic creatures I've made over the years. I kind of want to go with the philosophers. I've always found people interesting, both in their external appearance and internal thought process, and you're getting better as a sculptor, though it will take a few years until your efforts are ready for public viewing. Empathy +2. It strikes you for a moment that this kind of thinking about how your life affects your robots is second nature to you, though others might find it peculiar. You've always been fascinated by how every little detail of your life, from the content of your dreams to the decor of your room, changes the inputs to the robots you create, boosts their empathy, or autonomy, or grace, or appeal to the military. Surely there are other things going on around you as a result of your decisions, but they don't immediately strike you in the same way. Today, your robot is foremost on your mind because you're about to build its body. You pick up your laptop and head to the Stanford machine shop. Next. It is a beautiful spring day in Palo Alto, California, and your apartment is only a short walk from the machine shop. But the streets of Palo Alto are not designed for walking, and you find yourself climbing around palm trees and balancing on narrow curbs as you do every day. You hear a low roar overhead. Glancing up, you see it's a flying car, a Nimbus. A little over $300,000 can buy you a car with wings that fold out, so that it becomes a small sport plane. The red Nimbus looks sleek and sporty. It's the sort of car its owner takes religiously to the car wash, though the commercials would have you to believe you can fly anywhere you want in those cars. The FAA still requires them to take off and land from airports. Only here in wealthy Silicon Valley do you see them with any frequency. The first time you saw one, you couldn't quite believe the future had arrived so quickly. So we're gonna get flying cars in just 1 year? Alright, this predicted it. If we actually do get a flying car, then this is the book that predicted it. Although I guess we do have a car in space now, of which the point I do still not understand. But the second time you saw one, you thought, I will own one of those one day, I swear it. If I ever make that much money, I'll use it to help the world instead of buying that car. Why are those flying cars trying themselves? So we can either just have the intent to be rich, have the intent to be generous, or make it better. I think we're gonna be the generous kind of person. I feel like that will boost our empathy more. You don't understand Silicon Valley sometimes. If you had $300,000, surely you could save many lives with that money. You promised yourself that you will hang on to your ideals, even if you should become wealthy. The Stanford University fabrication shop smells like oil and burnt plastic. The room is dominated by large metal hand-cranked milling machines and lathes. Is that how it's pronounced? Lathes? Dinosaurs of the 20th century. One of the most used machines are the smaller 3D printers and computer-controlled water jet cutters that take a quarter of the space. The lights have the sterile fluorescence of an operating room, with only a single tiny window near the ceiling to inform you that it is day. You start up a national public radio podcast on your laptop. You haven't seen your advisor much since you joined the lab, so you choose the episode in which he's the interviewee. My guest today is Dr. Harvey Ziegler. Oh, of course. Let's put Overwatch in here, just put Dr. Ziegler. Is this... yeah, there's... insert obligatory "this is Marcy's husband" joke here. There's a woman with a soothing voice. Dr. Ziegler, thank you for talking with us today. Well, a scientist does have some responsibility to inform the unwashed masses, Terry. You let the podcast run as you walk over to the 3D printers. What materials have you decided to use for your robot? Plastic. It may break easily, but it's both lightweight and cheap. Metal. It's the most resistant to damage. Wood. It's the most pleasing to the hand and eye. Let's go with wood. Though wood is an unconventional choice for a robot, wouldn't automata go back to the ancient Greeks at Alexandria? In Japan, they were called the Karakuri Ningyo. I hope I didn't screw that up. But the other machines in this room can create things that are beautiful in their own way. Your favorite machine is the 3D printer that extrudes a wooden filament mixed with plastic. A mixture called Laywood. Grace +1. Dr. Ziegler, in your new book you talk about the singularity. Could you describe for our listeners what that is? Terry, the singularity is the coming time when artificial intelligences will have figured out how to make themselves and us smarter. Once that happens, the process will build on itself until the robots are smart enough to figure out how we can live forever. Is that possible? The interviewer asks. Living forever? Of course, Professor Ziegler says. What does it matter whether our operating systems are made out of meat or silicone? So you're predicting we'll become robots? Not exactly, Ziegler says. But I do think the line between humans and robots will blur. You're hardly listening to the podcast because you're about to make your first robot part. What does the head of your robot look like? A human face, as lifelike as I can make it. A small box with eyes, clearly not trying to be anything but a robot. It will be felt covered and big-eyed, like a puppet, so people will not be afraid of it. It will have a ring of cameras around its head for a 360-degree view. It will look like a Venetian mask, beautiful, expressionless, and otherworldly. Let's go for a human face. As the 3D printer creates the robot's face, you think it's turning out well. You've successfully left the uncanny valley that makes humanoid robots seem eerie, and instead have achieved a beautiful serenity. Empathy +2. How long has the recording been going on? I think we could put in 5 more minutes. Dr. Zeeker, what makes you think the singularity will happen now? Well, for one thing, I'm around, but seriously. My lab is taking a unique approach because we're saying, why not teach a robot like a child? We're going to equip the robot with the best sensors money can buy and teach it English. Then it could rapidly teach itself using the internet. Well, that's annoying. Your advisor thought that a robot child was a stupid idea until you told him Turing proposed it back in 1950. Minus the internet part. Now that I read it, is Turing like an actual person? I only remember Turing like from ROM, like that one game that takes place in the same universe as Valhalla. I think the tiny robot there was just called Turing, if I remember correctly. But he isn't giving credit to either of you. You keep working regardless. How will your robot get around? It will walk upright on 2 legs. It will crawl on 8 legs. It will roll on wheels. It will fly like a helicopter. It will roll on tank threads. It will walk upright, but will also have delicate wings it can use for balance. Let's make it walk upright on 2 legs. When the 3D printer is done with the head, you start the program that produces the torso and cue up the upper and lower legs. I think being bipedal will help your robot get along with humans, though it will also make it easier for your robot to trip and fall. +2 empathy, -1 grace. Damn it. You use the basic hand-cranked milling machine. It's to drill holes in the head for screws, since 3D printers aren't the best for threaded holes. And who's going to raise this robotic child? The interviewer asks. Who does all the grunt work in the research laboratory? Professor Zeeker says. The graduate students, of course. You find yourself wanting to reply to the podcast. It's not grunt word. Education is critical to the robot's development. We also do all the real science. Perhaps you could learn something from doing the grunt work yourself, Professor Ziegler. It's not grunt work. Graduate students always overestimate the degree to which teaching actually matters, says Professor Ziegler, who appears to have entered the machine shop behind you when you weren't looking. If the robot's smart, it'll learn no matter what, and if it's not, it won't. Professor Ziegler is a heavy-set man wearing a Hawaiian shirt and aviator sunglasses. He stalks over to your computer. We'll be back in a moment, continues the interviewer. We're talking with Professor Ziegler pauses the podcast by hitting the laptop spacebar, and you flinch at this intrusion. He then pulls a cigar from his pocket and lights it, and the smell of smoke mingles with the oil in the machine shop. I'm wanting $1,000 for DARPA, and I need to see what you're making back here. We ultimately get funded by the Department of Defense, so we have to make sure they're happy with our product. He casts a critical eye on your work, on the work you've done so far. This is a prototype, right? He says. You're going to build the final thing out of metal? Okay, we can share this game with friends if we want. I want to check if saving is a thing. Okay, but I think that's good enough for this episode. I'm gonna record another one straight after this, so I won't be able to read the feedback and the like right away. So you're gonna get at least like 2 parts. That being said, I hope you enjoyed this. There's gonna be a second part fairly soon. Okay. Well, see you then.